In episode 4, Asan walks right in the front door. He waits for the person to arrive with the painting, but when she does, and Asan gets the jump on her with a gun, he finds out that his mother is not at that location. The woman calls up her boss and explains that Asan is with her. So they put Asan's mother on the phone, and she tells Asan, look, you doing all this, it's only making it worse for me. You're just going to have to do what they say. They want Asan to steal another item. This time it's a very, very expensive bracelet that has an unbelievable clasp. It's going to be very, very difficult to get. But unlike the previous heist, they want him to get caught. Actually, they don't want Asan to get caught. They want Ben to get caught. They want Asan to show just how far he's willing to go. And that's a pretty big test. And even though Asan does not want to do it, he doesn't want to betray his friend, he's going to have to. So when he meets back up with Ben, he tells him, yeah, they want us to steal this bracelet. But he never mentions the fact that Ben is going to get caught. No, for that, Asan's going to have to do his own little mission. In the meantime, though, they do have to figure out how they're actually going to get the bracelet. The clasp is extremely difficult to get off. Stealing it right off of somebody's wrist is going to be next to impossible. So what they're going to do is they're going to practice a lot. Now, the good thing is they know where the bracelet's going to be. It's going to be on the wrist of a woman attending a party. All they have to do is infiltrate that party. And the plan is pretty genius. They're going to pose as the coat guys. The guy's taking everybody's coat in the house, putting it away. Asan figures that when he takes the coat off or puts the coat back on, he'll be able to easily get the bracelet off the wrist of the woman. From there, they're going to go into the garden maze, go to the center of it, connect the bracelet to a drone. The drone will deliver the bracelet to the woman, the same woman with the painting. And that's how the bracelet's going to get to the kidnappers. But all of that is a lot easier said than done. In order to successfully do this, they're going to have a reason for the guy who's supposed to take the coats to not be at work that day. Asan and Ben find out who this guy is. They head to his house, and Asan poses as an IT technician. He lets the guy know that they're updating an antenna, and the Wi-Fi is going to be out Saturday night from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. And the guy tells Asan, that's no problem. I'll be at work. No biggie on my end. The key for Asan, though, is he has the guy sign a letter that he tells the guy is just confirmation that Asan showed up. But in reality, it's to get the guy's signature so they can forge a resignation letter that they can give to the woman at the house the day of the party. With everything in place, now all they need to do is wait for the day of the party and pray to God that all of Asan's practice is going to pay off and he'll be easily able to get that bracelet off the woman's wrist without her knowing. In the meantime, though, he does still have to coach a basketball team wearing a ridiculous getup. This does allow him, though, to reconnect with his wife and be close to his son. I myself steal a lot of inspiration from the classic Mrs. Doubtfire, and Asan did the same. She does mention to him one day over coffee how they do have this connection and she can't quite figure out what it is. And of course, quote, Coach Alex doesn't correct her on it. He just likes hearing about her and, more importantly, about Raul. The fact is, Raul is having trouble accepting the fact that his father is dead, and Claire, while she would like to move on, is also kind of having trouble. Recently, the media has picked up on the fact that Asan Diop might not be dead. Thanks to Youssef working with Floor, she tipped off some friends at the paper, connecting the dots that Asan Diop was trying to mimic Arsène Lupin. And it's got the police doing a little digging into the matter. When Claire shows up at the hospital that day for work, her boss lets her know that they're trying to track down the doctor who did the autopsy. Apparently, he was just a fill-in, but they can't find any record on him. And because of that, it piques the interest of Claire. So she tells the woman, if you find his ID, can you let me know too? I'm curious. Curiosity continued to get the better of her, though, and when she headed to basketball practice to pick up Raul, she decided to call Floor back and ask her, why did you think that Asan isn't dead? Floor says that it's kind of difficult to explain on the phone, and she really wants to do an interview with Claire, but Claire isn't interested. Now, while that phone call was going on, Asan, who is playing Coach Alex, was busy eavesdropping. So when Claire gets off the phone, he tries to discourage her from talking to the journalist. He tells her, how is Raul supposed to get over this if you can't get over it? And Claire takes rather exception to that. After all, she just met this guy, and now he's giving her parenting advice? So she basically tells him to go pound sand and leaves. But to Claire, things just aren't adding up. Later on in the night, when she's doing some laundry, she goes into Raul's room and she notices all these notes written down about faking a death. This is something that Raul has continued to say, that his dad isn't dead, he faked it. But there's one name that's circled, Edith Swanwick. So the next day, Claire decides to head to the library and try to find anything she can on this Edith Swanwick. The problem is, she was a little too late. When she went to the Lupin section, a couple of girls grabbed the book that she needed, but what they didn't know was that Claire was married to a master thief, and along the way, she picked up some tactics. So all Claire did was follow the girls to a cafe, create a diversion, and swipe the book. But as Claire is leaving, she's not only noticing all these newspaper articles about Hassan, she's also noticing some on her. And while for Yusef, he's excited because people are finally starting to listen to his theory, for Sophia, it's pretty obvious to her on who the inside source is. It's got to be the guy that's obsessed with Lupin. When Sophia confronts Yusef about this, he just denies it. But then they get interrupted because the police force got a tip that the next night a robbery is going to go down and it's going to be Ben Farrell. The tip, of course, was sent by Hassan. Unfortunately for Ben, he has no idea about this. When they go over the plan, the escape seems rather easy. They get the bracelet, he's going to head to the maze, he's going to connect it, and then he's memorized the pattern on how to get out of the maze where he will meet up with Hassan and he'll escape. What he didn't know was that Hassan had headed to the house, pretended to be a gardener, and rearranged the maze so that it would trap Ben in. As far as Ben's concerned, the plan so far is going great. And the day of the robbery, the little bait and switch with the coat guy goes off without a hitch. Ben had connected a jammer to the guy's house so that when he left, it would activate. They then flattened the guy's tire, so when he came outside and saw the flat tire, he had to head back in to call work, tell them they'll be late, but he couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. So this guy had no way to communicate to the outside world, and he had no ride to get there. That opened the door for Hassan and Ben to pretend to be code guys. A little while later, the bracelet shows up, and at the end of dinner, when Hassan goes to put the woman's jacket on, he's able to get the bracelet off, but he drops it. Ben goes to pick it up, but all the commotion was caught by the woman's husband, and Ben just takes off running. He does as he's told. He heads to the middle of the maze. He connects the bracelet to the drone. Hassan, who is still in the house at this point, flies the drone to the target, but what Ben didn't expect was the police were going to show up. And unfortunately for Ben, he starts following his pattern, but he gets to a dead end, and he gets caught. And Ben is escorted out of the house in handcuffs. Hassan is gutted about this. He never wanted to stab his friend in the back. So after Ben in handcuffs is out of view, Hassan, pretending to be Coach Alex, decides to call up Claire, just to hear a familiar voice. He apologizes for what he said about Raul, admitting that he doesn't know what it's like to be a single parent, and he shouldn't have said what he said. They hang up the phone, but then Claire gets another call. It's from the woman at the hospital, who she asked to give her a call if she found the ID of that doctor. Well, the woman tells her that doctor never existed. They have no record of him ever being a doctor. They have no idea who that guy was. And with Claire halfway through a Lupin book, and this doctor nowhere to be found, the media is saying that he might have just mimicked Lupin, the pieces are starting to add up to Claire that maybe her husband isn't actually dead. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.